Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of How Did We Get Here? Better Than Your Average is the channel, and the movement How Did We Get Here is the show. I'm your host, Jay Carter. Got my man to my left as always, heard and never seen, Skeens. How are you, my brother?
I'm good, aka Dr. Claw.
I'll get you next time. Catch it. Anyway, man, as usual, love, peace, and blessings to everyone. We want to send out love to everybody. We'll get to it, man. The nation is on fire. The world. I was thinking of this George Floyd. And in the last episode, I wasn't thinking about it, but at one point I started calling him George Franklin.
Okay.
So I apologize, but George Floyd is going to go down as one of those historical figures that was a catalyst for change. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're living in like this historical time in the world and in the country now. As you and I talked about, they got to make sure that verdict go right. Because if you think it's wild now, if that verdict goes
they got
left,
unfortunately,
and I didn't say left. If it go left,
hey, they whether they like it or not, they gonna have to fall on the sword. Because
if you think it's crazy now, boy.
And I will look at it this way. How many, if that goes the other way, how would the interactions with cop go going forward if you're ever pulled over? Right. Because people can look at cops as, look, I don't know if it's you or me.
Right, exactly.
Because you don't know, one, you don't know what's on the person's mind in the first place. And two, if you have autonomy to just do what you want to do and get away with it, like, say for instance, if I had a problem with somebody, if somebody did me dirty, guess what I'm gonna do? Hey, I ain't gonna just kill you. I'll go to police academy,
right?
Do my 9 months of training,
yep,
and I'll kill you legally,
right? Right, yeah,
and go back home.
Yeah,
that's crazy when you think about that way.
Yeah, man. So,
and not to mention, like, 9 months. It's only 9 months of training. It may be shorter in some location,
right?
And after 9 months, I have the power to enforce law or kill you. It takes longer to get a cosmetology.
There's so many things. It's longer than to be a cop. You know what I'm saying?
Than it does to be able to basically enforce law. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy, man. But like you say, one of the things that has to be key change, and you know, the officials that we're voting for and counting on to go forward on our behalf in the political system, is that cops got to be held to a different standard. Absolutely. You have to be held. It can't be that you got all this gray area because you're a police officer. You know, if you murder somebody, you get treated like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, one of the things with police officers is, from a training standpoint, the training need to be revived completely.
Oh, I seen something where they were talking about, they need to have monthly training. I don't know what intervals it is or if it's standard, but across the board, I believe police officers should have something that they get every 30 days.
I look at it this way: even before you're actually put on the street, I think they change it from 9 months to 2 years.
Right.
In order to even get associates, is 2 years.
Boom.
And when you're dealing with a job as stressful and split second as it is,
yes, yeah,
the training needs to be 2 years.
Yep.
Part of that training, one of the first class you need to take, conflict resolution.
Boom.
Because if you
how to diffuse a situation,
first class,
right,
and last class you need to take,
right, because
a lot of things could be handled with a simple conversation. Yep. But if you can't handle conflict, as well, if you are afraid
Yep.
to even interact with people,
Right.
it's a recipe for disaster.
Yep.
So that's one of the biggest things, as well as we talk about. I think that there needs to be a yearly psych evaluation to see to make sure that you're able to maintain that position.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mental health is vastly underrated.
All of that stuff. What we have to do again is it can't be that simple to be a police officer. It can't.
Well, and also I was Googling some stuff, and as they talk about, only half of the police officers have body cams.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, the cost of a body cam for maintenance, and body cam usually lasts about 2 years, is about $770.
Okay.
So, to make sure that the rest of the police, the other half that do not have body cams, are supplied, it would be about $250 million, right?
Yep.
When we're giving stimulus packages and things like that, that $250 million is not really any money. Now, to me and you, that's money.
That's no money.
But on the grand scale of things, that's not no money.
You got money. That's the type of money. That's no money. Yeah.
As well as use that $250 million to make sure that everyone has a cam, and also make sure that cam automatically comes on, because as they talk about, some people are able to turn the cam.
Yeah, they can switch it. Yep.
That cam needs to come on if for any, I guess, subtle move, like extreme movement, like explosive movements. Yeah. That explosive movement could be you running after somebody. Right. That explosive movement can be you reaching for it in your holster and get a gun. That cam must come on.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it could even be. I mean, I haven't thought this all the way through, but I know they have like the dash cam for when you're in the car. Yeah. It could be as soon as you leave a certain proximity from the vehicle. You know what I'm saying? That body cam comes on automatically.
Like, even as we talk about law, I think we still got to get more clarity. As you see, some police officers say, "Oh, it's illegal to film me." Right. We need clarity on that. Right. Or is that a state by state thing? Because I've seen some lawyers say that's illegal. That's not law. When they've asked police, when did that come about? Because there's one guy, he was an Uber driver, but he's a lawyer. So when they pulled him over, he was filming.
I saw a heading about that, but I didn't see the video.
It was filming him. He said, and the police officer said, "You can't film me." He said, "Since when?" Okay. Well, how do you know? He said, "I'm a lawyer." Yeah. And so the guy, they kept going back and forth, and the guy kept telling me. He said, "Well, that's recent." I said, "He's like, exactly what day did it come out?" Because I work down the street. Mm-hmm. They couldn't give him any information, and after he showed him his lawyer card, with the tone changed. Okay. Oh man, I thought I knew how you look for when the sergeant. Oh, I know you look familiar.
It's crazy that stuff is still. I saw a 70-something-year-old man. He was protesting. He went up to the police officer. He got pushed down, and he started bleeding from the ear. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that one.
There was another brother. He was. I don't know where he was, but the cops were like saying he matched you matched the description, and he was like, "Check my back pocket," and he was an FBI agent.
And you know what? That goes. I was watching D.L. Hughley stand up, and then he was saying, like, some people say, "Oh, I don't see color," but you great at describing a black person.
You know what I'm saying?
In the lineup,
and that whole "I don't see color" thing is stupid. I know the sentiment that some people mean, but I see color. It's just that it doesn't affect how I'm going to treat you. Though. You know what I'm saying?
And as we talk about law and understanding, I think even like in that case where we're talking about police officers telling you that you can't film them, if a police officer if a police officer lies to you about your rights, dismissal. Yes. Because you, in terms of your job, you are held to a higher standard. Your job is to uphold law. If you are lying to me knowingly about a law, and you're blocking you're interfering with my constitutional right, case dismissed, and that person need to be reprimanded. You need to be suspended, or you need to be sent back to training, or I should be able to sue you for lying to me, right? Because they're saying how they talk about like somebody has tainted evidence. You too are doing the same thing, but also right. As we talk about the George Floyd thing, it's amazing how stances have changed about people in the way people view things, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 years ago, Cap kneeled.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that. Let's get into that a little bit.
So, and how people will muddy a message. Mm-hmm. He kneeled because of police brutality,
right?
For unarmed black men, but basically, or unarmed people. Period.
Yes,
but mainly he was dealing with the black.
Talking about the disparity for people of color.
So,
yes.
When he said that, people made it about the flag, mm-hmm. and not about the message. So at that time, the NFL, pretty much everyone in the NFL backed away from, because they looked at him as a pariah, and they also looked at it to a point of, hey, because as businessmen they cared about their bottom line. Mm-hmm. Now 4 years later, right? If they would have heed to some of those things that he said, a lot of this wouldn't have taken place. But also now, if you don't support the movement, you will lose money.
Right.
So look at that.
Yep.
You will lose money 4 years ago because you said, if I support him, my sponsors and boosters are going to walk away from me.
Right.
Fast forward to 4 years now, if you don't do something about it, your sponsors will leave you. Mm-hmm. It's amazing the 180 in terms of how things have adjusted.
I'm telling you, man, this is just thinking about things with the Rona right now. All of this stuff going on with George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. What's the other young lady? Is her name Breonna?
Yeah.
I don't want to say the wrong name, but I believe it is. But it's just Skeens. It's
okay. Let's
like they said. Before, even though stuff has been getting filmed, right? Mm-hmm. With George Floyd, I honestly and truly removed that ability for people to have doubt of how callous and casual it is to knock somebody off of color with the whole just nonchalant. Hey, I'm kneeling on this dude. He can't breathe. It's no big deal to me. And I have said this before, and I think it bears, it should be reiterated for people that are still on the fence about kneeling and this and that and the third. Point number one: if simply, let's with the Cap stuff. Cap wanted to protest, and my man told him, hey, you sitting is actually more disrespectful. You should kneel. Cap said, cool. Now, people are like, I don't want that at the football game. First of all, unless it's like the Super Bowl, you don't even see who sings or do any of that stuff. Number two, you're in the stadium, you're buying beer, you're doing whatever you got to do. Number three, for me, as trying to be a stand-up man, if some cats are kneeling during the national anthem to bring awareness to anybody being brutalized by police, that's a small sacrifice where I would be like, man, it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? Number four, I don't know what number I'm on, but in any other setting, Skeens, when you kneel, that's a sign of respect. Yeah. When you propose, what do?
Bend the knee.
I was telling my homie at work the other day, dude, I said, man, if you was taking your wife out to a fancy restaurant you never been, but you heard of it, and upon entering the restaurant, the servers were kneeling. Welcome to Shayla Mara. You be like, oh my God. Any other place, kneeling is seen as a sign of respect and service to somebody.
Well, also, let's keep it 100. They didn't care about the whole pledging at a football game until the NFL got money.
Absolutely.
They got a check for that.
They got broke off.
So, once again, you're affecting the bottom line. Now, as we talk about that.
Again, y'all, they get paid. People acting like it's just, we're so patriotic. And no, the armed forces cutting a check. Okay, so keep on. I'm sorry, but
yeah, but and also, well, I lost my train of thought, but also this, right? As we talk about the flag and the patriotic standpoint,
right?
Many of us, what World War I, after slavery,
yes,
fought,
yes,
for the United States.
So
they're showing patriotism. What 1813 or something like that.
Let's tie that in with Drew Brees.
With 1913.
Let's tie that in with Mr. Brees.
And then we're gonna go there.
Okay.
Right. So, slavery ended in 1865. World War I. You got black soldiers who are still going through Jim Crow, showing their patriotism. Now show. This goes and it ties into the forgiveness in the heart of these people. You've been done wrong.
Yes.
You've been enslaved. You was brung over here illegally against your will.
Yes.
You've worked for many years. Now, because you said, I love this land, I'm going to go fight a fight when really I get no benefit out of this fight.
This land is your land.
And you get treated wrong and you go fight. You come back home after fighting and winning, and you're still treated the same. You're still looked at less than. And I forgot what movie we watched. Was it Harlem Hellfire? Was it Harlem Hellfighters? How they went and fought the airmen. They went and fought with a German They captured German soldiers, I believe. And to show how they treated them, how less than they saw them, they made them get up and give their seats to the captured.
Right. Yep.
Think about that. But that shows a level of forgiveness that you got to have in your heart.
Right.
For someone else, you've done me wrong.
Right.
I'm fighting a fight for you. I get nothing out of this. Really, they're stronger people than me because you know what? I would have sit back. Hey, handle your business.
Right.
It can't. Even if we lost, it can't be no worse than what I'm going through. Right. I'm getting beat. I'm in fear of my life every day. I'm getting tormented. I'm getting killed. I don't care which way it go.
Right.
If you're looking at it if you're looking at it through their lens at that moment in time.
So let's circle back to that forgiveness piece. But what were your thoughts on Mr.
Brees?
So let's give him his just due. He's gotten the Walter Payton Award. He's considered, a pillar in the community. He's done a lot for that community in New Orleans. From everything I know, for all intents and purposes, Drew Brees is known as a stand-up, God-fearing guy. However, he was asked some questions in reference to everything that's going on. And now, in the full statement, he did mention something that it does make him think of everybody
later.
He said it after that.
But his original statement as he doubled down
is basically I
can't respect
anybody that disrespects the flag. Yep.
Now, both of us have family members that have been in the military.
Absolutely.
My granddad has rest in peace, Tech, has a Purple Heart.
Yes, sir.
So
Pops did 20 years. I work for the military in partnership with them now.
So a lot of us have a lot of family members that have
my whole life.
Yes. Other family members, so on and so forth.
Yep.
That doesn't make your grandfather's sacrifice any different than any greater,
right?
Than ours.
And that's what you were talking about. And a lot of people have said that when Drew said that it makes him think of his grandfathers, you do realize that it wasn't just your granddaddies that was fighting. Because and again, when we came back, we didn't have the same reception that they had.
Yeah, not to mention, it was somebody you just whooped on the back.
Right.
That shot somebody to save your life.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, look at it from that lens.
Right.
So, Drew does a lot of great things, and I don't know him.
Yeah.
And so I won't kill him.
Right.
Because of the different things that he's done, and everyone makes a mistake.
Yes.
But then if you look at a parallel, somebody say, "Hey, well, he did all these great. You can't kill him because of the work he's did." People have ops that work on the inside. Malcolm was killed by somebody who infiltrated the nation. So They did all the work pertaining to everything the nation did, but you played the role and you still did what you did.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying that was his mindset and that's where his heart is. But I don't give you a pass. Well, I take it back. I'm not gonna say just because you did something, you did things in the past as charitable gifts.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't from a selfish standpoint, because sometimes people do things and as a sign of I'm doing these things for you,
right.
But it's really for self.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I want to be seen. Like you see some people on Instagram donating stuff, and I'm like, and I have to look at it sometimes. If you're doing the real work, it doesn't always have to be seen.
Right.
If I give you some money right now, I shouldn't have to do it. Me giving it to you, it shouldn't hold any more weight than me giving it to you on camera.
Right, absolutely. And in all fairness, to Drew, that boy felt the smoke. He had to put out 2 apologies.
Yeah.
But here's the actual, I don't have the question, but the quote he said, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my 2 grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try and make our country and this world a better place. So every time I stand with my hand over my heart looking at the flag and singing in the national anthem, that's what I think about. And in many cases, it brings me to tears, thinking about all that has been sacrificed.
But I read that third stanza.
Not just those in the military, but for that matter, those throughout the civil rights movement of the 60s. And everyone, all that has all that has been endured by so many people up until this point. So, and he goes on to, he did try to string in the civil rights movement in there, but we were just talking about timing of certain things. Yeah. I don't think it was the proper time to you didn't even have to go down that road.
Because
you know what I mean?
No one brung up the flag other than him.
Didn't nobody ask you that? And here's the
this
other thing.
Situation has nothing to do with the flag.
And it's been said countless times, but we want to get ours off too. This is no different, Skeens, than say, for instance, and this will go out for people married in relationships. Men, if your wife comes and tells you something, hey, this is how she comes to you, hey, babe, I feel like this. And you go, no, you don't. You feel like this. And she's like, no, I'm telling you, when you did this, I felt like this. No, you didn't. You feel like this. This is what you're telling Cap and those that supported him. This is not about the flag. This is in reference to police. No, it's not. It's about the flag.
The oppressor can't tell the oppressed how to feel.
You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't tell me. You can't tell me that. You can't tell me that. So now, again, because of the stuff with George, man, it's just all of it is so evident and clear. And I think as black folks, like, why did it have to take all of this for y'all to believe us? And again, here's the thing. In order for me to acknowledge what has happened to you in this country, for me if I'm a white person, it's not that I just have to acknowledge the inadequacies within the country and this system. I got to acknowledge what's inadequate within me. Yeah. And that's hard for people to do, for all of us to do, to admit our faults. And then once because here's the thing that when, again, we're going to turn it back in. We'll talk a little bit later about forgiveness. But once we have this forgiveness piece and I acknowledge where I wronged you, is then you have to change. You have to change. Because it does nothing for me for you just to acknowledge what you did and your behavior not to be amended. And that's in relationships, period. Yeah. Amended behavior is the biggest gift, is amended behavior. And America now, it seems, will finally say, hey, we got to amend the way that we've been moving.
Well, the first step is, as you talk, you have to change.
Right.
First step is you have to say, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Because saying I'm sorry.
Acknowledge. Yes.
Actually, yeah, you're acknowledging and you're admitting
Right.
your wrongs.
Right.
Even what Roger Goodell admitted, or kind of admitted,
Basically, we missed the boat.
We missed the boat.
Yeah.
He didn't really. I'm apologizing,
right,
but I'm not really admitting I'm sorry.
Right. Yep.
Can you truly apologize if you're not admitting your wrongs?
Right.
Is the apology really an apology when you're apologizing through the wrong lens?
Right. And guys, what we wanted to do is not based on everything that's going on that we're talking about. We wanted to touch that, but me and Skeens were talking the other day, and we were talking about just in general. A lot of people have an issue or problem with forgiveness in their relationships. And again, we're not relating it to anything going on with us and us forgiving folk and all that other kind of stuff. No, we're just talking about really still going back in the relationship piece of things, asking yourself that question: do I have a problem? Do I have an issue with forgiveness? Am I a forgiver?
Well, the first question is, what is your definition of forgiveness?
Right.
And how would that look?
Right.
How does that look?
Yeah.
And that's the first thing that people have to first, come to grip with, because everyone's definition of forgiveness would be totally different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And because your definition of forgiveness does not match mine, do we still have conflict? Because in my heart of heart, there's no contrition, because you're not forgiving. You're not saying I'm sorry or admitting your wrongs the way I see fit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm putting undue pressure on you to be and live up to an expectation that I have of you, which is not your expectation.
Well, that's the key word you said there is expectation. And in relationships, y'all, as we talk about the communication piece, a big part of communicating is setting proper expectations of one another. And like you said, oftentimes we'll be meeting our own definition and expectation of forgiveness, but falling short of what that person that we wrong, what their idea of it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, a part of it, like if you look at it this way, right? We say that God is love, right?
Okay.
And we are created in His image.
Mm-hmm.
In order to fully reach that moment of self-actualization,
mm-hmm.
I have to be able to forgive,
mm-hmm.
because I can't really love if I can't forgive,
mm-hmm.
because now I'm putting a governor on my love,
mm-hmm.
and I can't really be it, and it can't. How can it ever really be true love if I can't forgive you?
Well, check this out. Let me see what you think of this. This is from a little blurb from Psychology Today. Forgiveness is the release of resentment or anger. Forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation.
Yeah.
One doesn't have to return to the same relationship or accept the same harmful behaviors from an offender. Forgiveness is vitally important for the mental health of those who have been victimized.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that and sometimes in the midst of a situation, you have a hardened heart, and people say, "I don't want to forgive." Well, the thing is that forgiveness is really for you, because you can't really find true harmony within yourself unless you let certain things go. Look at it this way, right? Was the earth vibration is supposed to be what, 432 megahertz?
Yes, sir.
That's the quote unquote natural vibration of the earth. When you say that the peaceful state, I think is what, 528.
Mm-hmm.
It's considered the peaceful vibration of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, when Kendrick Lamar says the "Don't kill my vibe,"
mm-hmm.
or you have the people say I just want to vibe, or I'm in my pursuit of an elevated mindset. Mm-hmm. That vibration has to change.
Yes,
but if you're dealing in a low frequency standpoint,
mm-hmm.
you can never truly be happy, nor will you ever truly make someone else happy.
Mm-hmm.
if you're still living in, if you're still dealing with in a low frequency standpoint.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But one of the first things that we talk about forgiveness, how many of us have never forgiven ourselves?
Say that one more time.
How many of us have never forgiven ourselves?
Now what do you mean when you say that?
So when you talk about that, right? Some of us deal with regret or we feel a way because I allow certain things to happen to me. Mm-hmm. As well as sometimes I'm not able to forgive myself for not being able to intervene with a relationship, and that relationship can be not just marital, mm-hmm. but it can be a friendship. It can be at work.
Right. Because when we say relationship, y'all, everything is a relationship. You know what I'm saying? Again, relationship, how we relate to one another, and that's coworkers, that's friends, family, intimate relationships, that kind of thing. And that's key that you said that, because a big part of, like you said, forgiving yourself is like you said, all I keep doing is going over in my head is when I went left when I should have went right. I went right when I should have went left. I went straight when I should have went back.
And also part of that, when you can't forgive yourself, I'll say that bitterness mm-hmm. from not forgiving mm-hmm. leads to brokenness. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you can't pick up those pieces mm-hmm. if you can't really, like I said, a lot of it is self accountability, right? Mm-hmm. Self actualization, mm-hmm. and understanding that we don't all have the answers,
right? Exactly, yeah.
But we have to take the necessary steps to move accordingly,
right? And I was thinking about this, man. A while back, a coworker of mine, she was dealing with another coworker, and they were going through it, and it ended up in them actually working in the same department, and then they had to split them up into different areas and stuff like that. And she was making reference to that this other particular young lady was acting a certain way because she said something to the effect she doesn't have any God in her, Jay. She don't have no God in her. And here's the challenge of the forgiveness piece is when we don't see it in others, can we exhibit it though? Where's the God in me?
If you can't, okay. Can you truly say I'm sorry if you can't forgive? If I can't forgive you,
right? Mm-hmm.
How can can I really be forgiven?
Right. It's like we say with a whole bunch of stuff, keep the same energy. We have to exhibit those things that we want to see. I always say, I have to do what I know to be true, even in the face of foolishness.
Yeah. Because if I can't, like I said, if I can't forgive you, can I admit my wrongs?
Right.
Because if I'm bullheaded enough and I'm as stubborn, and hey, moment of transparency. At one point in time, I was the king of grudges.
This dude was through with you.
It's over. But
because he is a freaking robot when it comes to cutting people off.
But there's also one reason why my mindset was in that standpoint, because I've always did right by people.
Right.
You can, as you know, people say my face clean in these streets. Mm-hmm. You can't find one person that said I did them wrong, or I said I never knowingly did them wrong.
Okay.
And there's a lot of situations that I have been over backwards.
That's another episode, but yes,
for other people,
another episode.
But yeah. And I look at it because I do so much to help people, mm-hmm. and being loyal to mm-hmm. beyond that I'm supposed to be a lot of times. Mm-hmm. The second you do it, is over.
Right.
Ball game. But that goes to when I was talking about me holding people accountable and to a standard that I hold myself, because the way some of us have been built coming up, that model has been broken.
Yes.
And it's never really been recontextualized or reformatted.
Right.
That Lego puzzle, whatever it was, it's still on the floor.
Yeah.
We haven't attempted to pick it up and rebuild it. Even if you say you wanted to rebuild in a different image, it's wild west in terms of the moral compass of a lot of people.
Well, let me not push back to you per se, but I was thinking about when we were talking about the forgiveness aspect too. Is I see a lot of people that talk about karma and stuff like that, but some of us move around here like karma is a one-way street. Those Skeens.
Yeah,
there's some stuff that you done that you can get some action back for if you believe it. Again, you believe in karma, reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. All this, it's all in the same pot. But I always thought that's interesting when I see a lot of people putting these vague, mysterious posts on social media. You know what I'm saying? It's just crazy when people hate on you and when people do you dirty and throw your name in the dirt. But karma. And I'm sitting there thinking like, for some of the folk, I'm like, man, I know some things you have moves that you made.
And that's what I was about to say. One way, look, one way you can tell some people lying,
right?
When they give blanket statements.
I hate the blanket.
They give you a blanket statement that's left up to your interpretation.
I always hate the blanket though on social media. Sometimes people put the blanket on social media because they want people to inquire more. But for me, again, it's your page, it's your post. But for me, just the logic of it, man think logic. Why would I put a vague statement that is not specific on a social platform?
And that's why I said it's up to your interpretation. It's up to your imagination. So even though I may be lying,
right?
If you say, man, he said this, and I'm riding for that, and
right.
You come back to me, I ain't say that.
Right. And
that was your interpretation.
Here's the other funny one. And a lot of y'all did be mad at me. Hey, shoot the messenger, whatever. But another popular thing on social media is people will put the blanket. Man, I got to cut a lot of people off, man. If you ain't make the cut, it is what it is. Hey, if I'm going to delete you from social media, I don't have to put a post out about it.
Now, they say killers move in silence.
Just delete them and move on.
And not to mention, who say you wasn't the one that was cut off?
I'm just like, I've had people delete me where I'm like, me and so ain't okay.
Sometimes
I didn't make the cut.
And sometimes after you've been cut off, now your retaliation is to go on social media to tell your side of the story. It's like stop it. And I get it. So a lot of it is like you do your own PR spin and get ahead of the story before, certain athletes, somebody, they'll talk about, this story, this is about to come out. Well, either you jump ahead of it and you spin in your narrative, or you take the memes, and the internet is undefeated.
100%.
Question.
Wait. I had to say this. I was going back. I forgot where I was talking about the young ladies at work and talking about where's the guy. And this is an old song by a dude named Kevin LeVar, and this is just some of the lyrics. Some of y'all heard the song "A Heart That Forgives." The Bishop used to sing it all the time, but I ain't gonna sing it for y'all. Get out of here. But it basically says, "I want a heart that forgives, a heart full of love, one with compassion just like yours above, one that overcomes evil with goodness and love, like it never happened, never holding a grudge. I want a heart that forgives, that lives and let lives, one that keeps loving over and over again, one that men can't offend." This is a tall order for some forgiveness. Like, I can't be offended. Then one part that he goes into, he says, I want a heart that loves everybody, even my enemies.
And okay. And that goes even with that statement, right?
Wait. And this is the one other part I like, Skeens. Mm-hmm. I want a heart that forgives when the ones that are closest and that I have known the longest, they hurt me the most. I still want to love them just like you love me.
Perfect.
Even though I'm hurting. He even says that. God knows I'm hurting. That's a tall forgiveness order.
And with that being said, like, who has more, who controls or who has ownership of the power? The forgiver or forgiven? Who's the more powerful of the two? Or well, who's the stronger of the two? Because I would say it takes more strength to forgive.
I agree. Than to be forgiven.
And once again, I was I was the royal king of Zamunda.
Yes, sir.
When it came to grudges.
I'm done with you.
But it's easier.
Skeens was Ivan Drago and Rocky. If he dies, he dies.
But it's easier. So, say for instance, conflict, and say men are the testosterone. It's easier to go off on somebody than to forgive them. And sometimes, which is weird, we hold grudges towards people, or we have an unforgiving heart towards somebody, and you forget why you mad at them. So, say for instance, and I don't know gang culture I know a little bit about a little bit. One could probably argue the Bloods. A lot of Bloods and Crips may not even know why they don't like each other.
Right.
I mean, you rep what you rep. But if I'm willing to bet it's a decent percentage of them. You ask them why you don't like him, or what's your beef with? Not Daniel. Why do you hate them?
Right. You don't even know.
May not even know.
It's the same thing with people like, why did y'all? What was the argument about? You forgot.
Yeah, but
I don't remember.
And the thing is, you have your relationship is with that anger, not with the substance of what the issue was about. Because that issue had dissipated. It's not even there anymore. And then sometimes people, you're angry at people, they forgot all about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that anger and that hatred that you hold in your heart is tearing you apart. That person going on with their life. If you have
that's the thing about the forgiveness piece is that as the person, it's really unforgiveness is a burden and a weight that you're carrying.
Yes. Because if you mad at me, I'm walking down the street, get my George Jefferson stroll on.
Right.
And then you see me
Right.
I don't know what you mad about. That's your problem. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Look at me.
You carrying that weight. Let's go forward.
Oh, a question is, right? When you talk about that, sometimes people, when coming to talking about unforgiveness and that burden that you carry, sometimes, people do go to social media. So even if there's also a thing of fake forgiveness, right? So
faux forgiveness.
There's a fake forgiveness, right? And when I say that, one aspect of the fake forgiveness is this: I forgave you, right? I told you I've forgiven you,
right?
But yet and still, I'm spreading the business. Or as Dame Dash said, I'm a chatty patty.
Chatty patty.
I'm telling everybody about what our fallout was, but we cool now.
Right.
If we cool, we met man to man, we've squashed whatever that issue is. I shouldn't be going backwards. I'm hustling backwards.
Yes,
telling
sir.
everybody why we fell out. It's none of their business why we fell out. But also, I'm slick hating because I'm really killing your credibility because I could be killing your business opportunity with those people that I'm telling about you. Right. I could be killing your potential wife. Right. Because she don't want to deal with you because she looking at you side eye because of something that I put out. That wasn't their business to know about, as well as you may no longer be that person that you was doing that fallout.
Well, boom, what you're talking about, Skeens, is two things where we can tie this in. Is I try my best if I've had now again, I won't put somebody in a position where I'm going to let them get tripped up and walk them into a bad situation. But if I've had a negative interaction with somebody, I try my best not to influence someone else's perception of them.
Yes.
And when I say that, we can turn that into in your relationship where you have to guard some of those things. And some of y'all have heard this. You'll have an issue with your significant other. You go and tell the family, right? So the family has this negative perception of him or her. Y'all go back and make it right, but oftentimes we tell the bad news, we don't go tell the good news of that we made up. And so the family still is holding this negative perception and all this negative energy towards that person, and y'all have actually reconciled and made it right.
Yep. As well as that relationship between that significant other and the family,
boom,
will never have an opportunity to get where it needs to be because they already come with an energy of hate anyway.
Right. Mm-hmm.
As well as, so if you say, when you take that a step further, right, when people go on social media, you go on Facebook, you're talking about your relationship situation. He did this.
Right.
He did that.
Right.
If I see that post,
or
she did that, you know, going both ways,
yep.
Or if I say she did this and this, or vice versa, or whatever, I may only see that post.
Right.
So when I see that person, if I'm your friend or just in general, right. I have a certain energy.
I feel an obligation to have a certain energy towards them.
Because there was a transfer of energy between your typing,
right, right,
and you putting it out to the mass. There was a transfer of energy. Now I hold energy with me that I shouldn't have in the first place because your business too.
Right.
I'm looking at this person a certain way, but y'all cool.
Right.
Now when I see y'all together, I'm like, what's she doing with him then?
Right.
She just said that he was sleeping with these people. He beat her and this. Or
I've had several homies
and vice versa. Or your girl has been hollering at your boys. I mean, she didn't try to holler at this guy, my homeboy, my best friend, and you back with her. One, if you say it as bad as you say it is, one, my guy or homegirl, God bless you, and accept the consequences for what it is.
Right.
Don't complain to anybody else about how bad it is when you had an opportunity to maneuver another way.
Right. I was thinking about this too, though. Can you be in love with someone that you can't forgive?
Great question. But part of what
can you be in love with someone that you can't and haven't forgiven?
No. Truly, you can never truly be in love because we talked about love demands forgiveness. There's a stance because love is we talk about 10 toes down.
Yes, sir.
This is the stance.
Yes,
I plant my flag right here.
Yes, sir.
That is not to be wavered.
Right.
It don't move.
It's the same thing. Let me jump off of that with you. And me and Skeens have a lot of conversation with different individuals on their relationships and things that they may be going through. And because of that love aspect that you're talking about right there, I never, when I'm giving somebody my opinion, advice, counsel, whatever the heck you want to call it, I never tell somebody outside of, if somebody getting hands put on them, you getting hands put on you, I'm going to tell you to move around. But outside pretty much of that, I can't tell you what move to make. Should I leave? I don't know where your love is set.
What's your pain, your threshold for your tolerance?
Where I don't know where yours is, but I can say, and I'm at a place in my marriage, in my relationship, where for outside of a few, like, chick just like, I'm through with you, I'm done, I'm moving out, I feel that I've invested enough and we have enough in this account where even if, some treacherizzations happen, that there's enough in the account to sustain us. If
I will forgive you before you even start talking stupid.
If I forgive, if I'm truly forgiving, like you said, and it's based from a place of loving the person, it has to be based from there. But I think a lot of people are tormenting themselves in an unforgiving relationship where they're still beaten and broken. I was talking to my mom I think this was a couple years ago, and you know, we have great conversations, man. And she was sharing with me, and we just went on this path. We were talking about in the middle of the night, just talking about relationships and marriage and stuff. And she said, "Sweet Pete, you have to be forgiving in your relationship, because if not, it literally will tear your marriage apart and torment you if you don't. You have to be forgiving." Now, they have that saying, forgive and forget. I don't believe in forgetting, but I don't know what you want to call it, but I believe that thought over time starts to transition further into the recesses of your mind.
No, as you say that, right? Have you really forgiven if you can't forget? Because and when I say that is like this, right?
Wait, when you say forget, do you mean, or again, are we talking about
if I forgive you,
right?
I am not to continue to hold it over your head.
Right. Don't keep,
because what you're doing,
that means you haven't forgiven me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay, that means you haven't forgiven me. Keep bringing it up.
You can't say that. You can't really mean that you've forgiven me when you're basically holding your forgiveness hostage.
Right.
Or
you're holding me hostage.
Well, you're holding that forgiveness.
You're
hostage
holding a relationship hostage.
Yes. So it's an act of terrorism.
Right.
Household.
You are a forgiveness terrorist.
Yeah. and it can because it becomes somewhat of transactional. But so the only way you get this forgiveness is as long as you live up to this expectation, or you give me what I want.
Right.
In order to maintain my forgiveness. Now, the second that you don't give me, that you stop giving me what I want, whether reasonable or unreasonable,
right,
however you hold that carrot over that person,
right,
it still is never a pure relationship as long as you're dealing and maneuvering in that manner.
Wait, so let me ask this then, to be clear. Do you believe whatever the forgiveness, it could be a myriad of things. Again, our brains are automatically going to go to, romantic relationships and cheating or something like that. So let's say that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
That's where most people's brain are going to go. So, Skeens, in that dynamic, is there a level of transaction towards the offended party that has to happen initially? Well, because your heart is, you wounded.
Correct.
Your heart is hurt. Your emotions is hurt. So we're going to go, I think it's reasonable that you go through a level of earning it back.
Well, and that goes to, as we talked about earlier, right? You have to first admit you're sorry.
Right.
Because I can say, you have to, as well as you have to admit you're wrong. Okay. I can say, I can apologize to you.
Right. Because some people use the apologies as a bailout.
Correct.
Nothing else.
I can apologize to you.
Yep.
Say I can apologize to you for offending you.
Right.
I didn't say I was sorry.
Right. Yep.
I never said I was wrong. I said I apologize.
Some people will apologize, will bail out quick.
Oh, I apologize. But so in that essence, I apologize to make you feel good.
Right.
But my principles, hey, look, I went wrong.
I'm not amending my behavior.
Correctly.
I'm not amending my behavior.
And that's what I'm talking about within that part of that forgiveness is, yes, if I did wrong, I cheated, there has to be a true level of contrition within me. Mm-hmm. I do have to earn that, but that is up to the offender to own it.
Right.
And build off of that.
Right.
More than the offended punishing you.
Right.
Because even within that punishment, you have flipped from the offended to the offender, because you're holding that punishment over that person's head and you're beating it.
Yes.
So now you have some people that have been the person that offended someone. So say, for instance, you cheated. I say me. I don't care. Let's say I've cheated on someone, right? And she's holding it over my head. Now, when she does something wrong,
go ahead.
I can never speak my piece and hold her accountable, because I'm walking on eggshells, because I don't want to ever offend her again in my pursuit of earning her love and trust back.
Boom.
And some people use that as they weaponize their form of being offended.
Yeah.
On our social media, everyone's offended by everything.
Everybody.
And a lot of it, you're not really offended.
Really
a lot of people are not offended by things, but it's trendy to be offended.
Man.
As we talk about the cap, and parallel, we talk about the cap situation. Right. 4 years ago, it was trendy to stay away.
Boom, you going somewhere.
Now, 4 years later, you got to be on that side. Now, it's how many people are riding.
Go ahead.
Not because really because you're on the team, but because
you on the trend.
You don't want to be. It's a look.
It's a look.
So we got to say, for a lot of people, it's a look. And I'm not going to say a lot of people. For some people, it's a look.
Yes. What they had, I saw this and I didn't go deeper into the little article, but dang, I can't remember what guy it is. But anyway, he was talking about how some of the influencers are using like the protests and stuff like that as an influencer moment to get views and likes. As they out, I'm out here, I'm doing, like, come on, and for the record, we ain't gonna go too far, but for the record, if you are a part of the movement because you're trying to get a look or you're trying to get some likes and some views, you can keep it. We don't want that.
Yeah,
we don't want that.
As well, it will, but that's something that you as a person have to deal with.
Right.
That's an internal conflict with you and your soul. If you okay with it, God bless you.
Right.
But don't use the moment to make a moment for yourself.
Right.
Which I see there are certain people doing, because how many people before this situation, right?
Talk about it.
Let's stick with the NFL.
Okay.
Because it's a moment. Mm-hmm. How many players are now up in arms now because this is a moment? Mm-hmm. 4 years, Cap hung by himself.
Yes.
Out to dry.
Solo dolo.
Let's go before this situation. Mm-hmm. My man in Georgia that was just killed right before this.
Right.
How many athletes came out and said anything?
Right.
No, it was a minimum amount.
Right. It wasn't. Yeah.
How many, and not just athletes, how many celebrities came out and spoke out about these things? Mm-hmm. But because this moment has traction and is a movement and it's a hashtag, people are trying to attach themselves to the hashtag because you want relevancy, or you want to either A, gain relevancy, 2, maintain your relevancy, or 3, reinvent yourself. Mm-hmm. Because you could have been hated, right? Mm-hmm. But you see this moment as a moment that as part of being an opportunist. You say, "Hey, man, I can attach myself to a new fan base or a fan base that disliked me,
right?
Or didn't have any, or looked at me a different way." And it goes to, like, let's look at it, Michael Jordan, for example, right? And
let's talk about that.
And there's 2 different lenses that you can look at right. Jordan. Mm-hmm. Some people feel a way about Jordan because throughout the years, because back in the day he made the statement, Republicans wear shoes as well, or the fact that he was silent about a lot of injustices and things like
social
that.
Issues.
Now, and we felt some kind of way. One, we didn't know what he was doing from a philanthropy standpoint on the back end.
Right.
And he did a lot of stuff in being silent. But also, if you don't know, you don't know. I would rather for you to be, if you're ignorant about a situation, shut up. Because that's one of my pet peeves. I hate when people spill the gospel when you're being ignorant.
Right.
Contrast to if you say LeBron, if he's aware of social of the climate, when he was told shut up and dribble, Jordan at that time, that's the stance he took. He shut up and he dribbled because he may not have been aware of the of what was going on, or had the platform to really speak.
Right.
LeBron is very aware. Mm-hmm. So part of him speaking up about certain things because one, he understands how to use social media. You got to think about Jordan. Jordan still got dad jeans on, so yeah, let you know his social media game ain't really where it is. No. But also, right now that he's given $100 million, has he earned our forgiveness? And so, because you said, hey, he was quiet all these years, no matter the money that he gave on the background, in the background, right? Mm-hmm. One, he made a statement. Mm-hmm. Did you forgive him? Were you able to forgive him? And if you could not forgive him after he made that statement, who did that speak more about, you or him? Mm. Who owns that title? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whose ownership? Because if he comes out and speaks about a situation that he's rarely spoke out, and right. never to this point stand. Right. If you can't forgive him for that, whose fault is that? Now that he's given $100 million for, we have $100 million towards,
I got the
police reform and injustices against black people.
Yeah, I keep going. I read. Right. I got it somewhere.
Do you forgive him now that he ponied up and gave money? Now,
so that goes into like you were saying. What do we have? What's the price tag each one of us has on forgiveness?
As well as, right, and it's great. And the even move a little bit further, if my forgiveness comes with a price tag, am I really forgiven? Mm-hmm. Or have I desecrated that forgiveness? Mm-hmm. Because it can't really come from a sincere place when I put a price tag on it. Because I gave you $50, like they was talking about. Virgil gave $50. Right. You killed Virgil for his 50. Now Virgil does make a significant more money than we do. Yeah. Now I know he said he gave money. He gave 20. Right. I mean, he gave $20,000 on the back end or whatever. But because the price tag on his forgiveness or what his contribution didn't live up to your expectation, mm-hmm. you killed him. Because I can't forgive you for only giving $50. Well, who am I to count another man's pocket?
Yeah, we always say
regardless of what he has, I don't know what's going on in his life. I don't know how and just because a person perceived to have money don't mean that his money is liquid. It could be tied up in different things.
Well, that's the other thing. We'll take it there and come back. Is that when you see, guys, these people, when they show their net worth, sometimes people might think that's like cash in a bank like Scrooge McDuck that you could swim around in. But that's in everything that they own, property, stocks, all that stuff comes into net worth. That don't mean that you got that at your disposal. The Jordan right now, because of the doc and people, what was his leadership style like and different things like that, and how he had ability to control what was in the doc. Again, anybody that does a doc on themselves, it's going to be skewed to your vision. I don't know who don't understand that, number one. Number two, it's skewed to his vision, but he also did put controversial things in there about himself, like the gambling and different stuff like that. I seen people say they wish they could have talked to his wife. And again, how many dudes really want to have their ex in their joint?
No one.
Anyway, so let's go. Here's the actual statement. The Jordan brand is us, the black community. Jordan brand is more than one man. It has always been a family. We represent a proud family that has overcome obstacles, fought against discrimination in communities worldwide, and that works every day to erase the stain of racism and the damage of injustice. The will, the work, the excellence the world has come to know is the result of one generation after another pouring their dreams into the next. In 2020, our family now includes anyone who aspires to our way of life. Yet as much as things have changed, the worst remains the same. Black Lives Matter. This isn't a controversial statement. Until the ingrained racism that allows our country's institutions to fail is completely eradicated, we will remain committed to protecting and improving the lives of black people. Today, we are announcing that Michael Jordan and the Jordan brand will be donating $100 million over the next 10 years to organizations dedicated to ensuring racial equality, social justice, and greater access to education. So there's money, there's a statement. I know, as we were talking about, especially guys in the relationships that we're talking about, but if we're going to be in a position as people of color and trying to make sure that we're united on all fronts, I can't think about, now again, am I going to watch how you move? Yeah, I'm going to watch how you move. But it's no different than the prodigal son. When we see somebody make that change, we should be rejoicing, not always reflecting on what they did in the past. Right. It's no different than how we want people to move with us in the grace and mercy that we want people to show to us. It's no different than the prodigal son. When he came back, his dad gave him the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? The best of the best. So once you make that transition, we got to be accepting of each other. Or you can't, oh, you ain't been down with the movement this whole time and you wasn't. Everybody's road to their point of realization and that epiphany in life is different.
As we talk about, life is a marathon, not a sprint.
So once you come here and you arrive, man, I want to receive you with open arms. Now I'm going to watch how you move. And if you show me otherwise, we'll deal with it that way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and not to mention, right, when you say that, if I'm always looking, if my lens are only directed towards your shortcomings,
come on,
and that's what I'm targeting.
Come on, that's all
I'm already doing you a disservice because I'm not willing to champion all the great things that you're doing. Or I'll say, hey, you're great at this.
Absolutely.
Let's build on that strength. But if I'm only pointing out what you did wrong. One, if you only come to me in a form of negativity and always pointing out what I've done wrong,
right?
Why would I want a relationship with you? And people have to realize you can't. None of us are perfect.
None of us.
If we're always pointing out what someone else did, why would I consciously? Who would you want to be around someone that always look for your downfall? As well as, look at here. If we're all perfect, we wouldn't have an X.
Okay.
None of us will have an X.
Right. Right. Exactly.
We'll all be straight A students. We all be perfect. But if you're perfect, where's the joy? Where is the intrigue in life if you're not growing? Because every moment is an opportunity to grow.
Absolutely.
And when people say, we talk about people change, every minute that you're alive, there's an alteration within you. Whether you see it or not, the world is always changing. You're changing. Either you're getting worse or you're getting better, but there is a change at all times that is occurring.
Right.
So if a person is changing for the better, encourage that person to keep moving forward. There's no different if a person say, hey, I'm on a weight loss journey. And that person lose 40 pounds. Instead of me saying, oh, I remember you was here. No, if that's your goal, hey, congratulations. Keep encouraging that person.
Yes.
Or whatever your goal is, or whatever it is, I should continue to encourage you to be the best that you can be, because part of that utopian mindset is that person, as their job now is to pay it forward to encourage someone else, whether we're talking about monetary or just words of encouragement, however that you are, to impact another person's life.
Right.
But if you are always trying to put someone down or look for what they can't do right, one, who are you talking about, them or yourself? Because a lot of times when people make these statements, you look at you in the mirror making that statement, and you're looking at yourself, but you're attaching a different name to it.
So again, as we're talking about the forgiveness piece, guys, true forgiveness, as Skeens said, is rooted in love. True forgiveness is rooted in love. And if we're going to get to the place of truly forgiving, whether you're the forgiver, or on the other side of it, in order for you in the relationship, whatever type of relationship, whatever capacity that it's in, you can't continue to revisit that moment. Yeah. You can't continue to bring up that shortcoming.
But that also talks to this, right? You haven't dealt with the pain that you suffered in the past, because you're still that. If you stump your toe, you may hoop and move around. Your toe is still hurt.
Right.
Have you dealt with that pain or that trauma that was in your life that you could not forgive?
Right.
Whether yourself or others, because if that pain is still there, if you can never really be all that you're supposed to be when you haven't identified that issue and dealt with it correctly. Some people you may have bad knees. Hey, go get surgery. But if you're still moving around this crickly knee, when that knee blow out,
right.
And then a lot of times within that pain and you trying to mask your injury, you put more pressure on the other knee. So now you're broken down the other body part or other aspect of your life, because you put extra weight on that aspect of your life or your partner or kids or whatever, because you never realigned yourself and fix what need to be fixed.
Right.
So everybody else now have to take the weight, because that weight has shifted when you when you don't correct yourself. So now you're also putting unnecessary unrealistic expectations on these people that they didn't sign up for.
Yes.
Your kid didn't sign up for you yelling at them all the time because you got daddy issues.
You got to go deal with that.
You look, or you have issues with that kid's father when that kid looks like his dad. You look just like your daddy, and you got and you still carrying and mask.
You carry that trauma from that relationship and brought it up here,
and you still got that hurt that you're holding on to, and now you're inflicting pain on your kid, because every time you see your kid, you see that father that relationship went a different way.
Right. Absolutely.
So now it becomes generational. So now, guess what? That kid now may have issues with women because of that stress and that you brought to him, what he didn't sign up for. One, kids didn't ask to come into this world.
Bingo.
Now you're throwing this unnecessary pressure outside of the pressure that you have to deal with outside of the house, especially when you're a black man, but as a male, period.
Right.
That's when you're talking about you're the head of household leadership, so on and so forth. So if you don't fix that, how many generations or how many other relationships that's gonna require somebody saying I'm sorry? How many other relationships do you have to say you're sorry to, because you directly impacted other relationships?
Right.
Just like when somebody have a coronavirus, right? I have corona. I come in contact with all these people. I've infected all these people, as well as when they go home, they've infected their kid. Their kid hang out with their friends or other family member. All these people have got infected because of me. Because I didn't take care of myself.
Did you just say that unforgiveness is an infectious disease?
Absolutely.
All right. Unforgiveness is an infectious disease that can span generations.
Think about, when you think about it, are you willing to be vaccinated? What is your vaccine? Because you got to understand what that trauma is and understand how, first know what it is, and now we got to figure out how do you correctly, not just deal with, how to correctly deal with it. And now you have to now champion those steps to make sure that that generational curse is not continued, as well as maybe it's not just your household, maybe somebody else that may need that are about to go down that same path that you have. You can stop a random girl at the church or whatever, or coworker from having that same heartache and pain that you have, because that's your testimony.
Yes.
You are that vessel to shut it down.
Yeah, we have to think, whether it's unforgiveness or whatever the challenges that we have. I always think of myself, other brothers that I'm cool with like that the stuff that the goals that we have and the places that we're trying to go and the conversations that we're trying to have is I'm trying to shut down those generational shortcomings, and I'm trying to stop it at me. And I take that as one of my challenges in life, to not, whatever some of that foolishness that we've carried down and things of that nature and crazy thinking, I'm trying to stop it here and start something new.
Yeah. As well as we have to be willing to be vulnerable and willing to accept help. So like when sometime we talked about long gone is the OG, but even in the OG, the person that's coming in your corner could be your friend.
Right.
So sometimes you don't want to hear from your boy because that's your boy. Are you judging me? You talking down to me? My guy, I'm trying to get you right because I see that you're going down the wrong path. And our ego, and we get in our pride and feel some kind of way that we don't want to accept the correction that's really the correction that we need at that moment. So when you say, or women say, oh, I want God to bless me or bring a man to my life, well, he's there.
Right.
That blessing is right there, but you blocking your own blessing because you can't see past yourself because you're stuck in your feelings at this moment.
And dude, I want to give a couple shout outs when we get ready to close out, but Skeens has always been somebody that I could come to and say, hey, I did this. What do you think? And it's not because I want some sweet pill of emotion, always a pat on the back. It's like, you could have moved different. My big bro, my mentor, Eric, another one. And a dude that I always give him props, and one thing that I appreciated about him, and it eventually will have him and his wife on the show, but shout out to my boy, Sean Baldwin. This dude is one of the most open, hold me accountable type dudes I have ever met in my entire life.
What up, Baldwin clan?
Shout out to the Baldwins, man. Much love. But he called me, and he won't mind me sharing this, but he's called me on a myriad of different things where he's asking me for the check. Like, hold me accountable. And he called me the other day, and it's a few of us during this time that I did want to say this too, is that we've been talking about how this time in the country right now has a place for people for white people to think about things that they've done, but it's even a challenge for us as black folks to think about ways that we can get involved more and holding my own self accountable for certain things and how I can move better. So he called me the other day and he was just like, Jay, I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm kind of paraphrasing what he was saying, but it was to the effect of like, dude, he was acknowledging that first of all, he's from Mississippi. He's from the SIP.
Crooked letter I.
So the racial tensions down in the SIP,
The Bible Belt's crazy.
For a long time, they still had segregated proms and stuff. So he's like, coming from there, I've experienced a lot of things, but being in the military, moving around the world, the level of financial security, so to speak, that I've gotten, he was like, Jay, I'm sitting there thinking, have I been in like a little bubble where I haven't been on my square like I need to be, and that I've kind of been insulated from certain things, to where I'm kind of like, maybe it ain't that bad. You know what I'm saying? And I just had to salute him because he always would call me and we'll have those real conversations. And oftentimes when he calls me, it turns into even me confiding in him on some things that, like, dude, I was doing the same thing, man. I was sitting checking myself that I'm living in this, military mixed utopia, so to speak, where I'm not seeing those same things, and that I got to step my game up in certain ways like that. You know what I'm saying? But
that's what me and especially us as black men, we need that accountability.
Absolutely.
And instead of the individuality that we've been lied to and told that I got to stun on everybody. No,
Right.
we need a community of men that are actually brothers.
100.
Because as I do well, you do well.
There you go.
Our community needs a realignment.
Mm-hmm.
So we do need to be able to hold each other accountable, whether wanting it or seeking it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So we do need to create I guess a community. I don't know. We need to create a page or however we need to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that accountability and uplifting and correction, because sometimes you may be doing it wrong because you don't know better, and that part of that correction is out of love.
Right. Absolutely.
Sometimes it may have to be hard love. I mean, or tough love, but you got to keep it 100.
Love is always the ground floor.
But sometimes you may have to stroke a person. However, you got to get to that goal.
Yep.
But we do need more of those conversations, and those conversations that you're having with those individuals is a building block. As Tupac said, one person teach two, teach another, teach two, and two teach so on and so forth.
There you go. Yep.
Those conversations need to be multiplied 1,000-fold.
There you go.
As we continue, as we slowly build, but that building is for us when we see each other out of love, and not see each other at slanted eyed. Do you thinking that person has a hidden agenda when you see that brother?
Right.
As well as it helps the households. The kids if I'm a better father, my kid is going to benefit from it, as well as not only my kid benefit from it, your kid is going to benefit from it, because my kid come to school and don't see color.
Right.
My kid come to school and is doing the right thing. That may inspire your kid to do the same. Or those kids are also holding each other accountable because they come from strong households.
There you go. It's exponential. The reach is exponential. So anyway, y'all, I mean, man, great conversation, man, as usual, Skeens. But just something for y'all to think about, that forgiveness piece. And I think that'll really hit home for a lot of folks, man, that forgiveness aspect. Because a lot of people are really, as we stated, carrying a burden every day. And we're challenging you guys to let that mess go. Let it go.
Absolutely.
Let it go. Before we close out, man, a couple things. I had a couple, of my white friends hit me up this week, and just kind of checking in with me. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was dope. See, Jay, how you doing? How your family doing? That kind of thing. And, we had a good conversation, and some of it was kind of, is there anything I can do for you? Or, one young lady hit me up and asked me, Jay, and she's a type chick that's, again, in this area here that shows mad love to everybody. And really that's for people wondering what they can do, and you're like maybe racking your brain about things that you can do to be more invested in the black community and our issues. Is Skeens, I think, is if you're operating from a position, like you say, not seeing color, but it's not so much I see you, I see your color, I see you, but it doesn't give me I'm not operating from a place where I'm prejudging you because of it. You see what I'm saying? I'm evaluating you as a person,
which basically means I see you.
I see you. I see you for who you are.
Not the outer exteriors, not the stereotype. I see you.
I see you.
As Bishop would say, intimacy.
Yes, into me. And that's the place that we want to get to, is where we see each other for what we talked about, not the negatives of who we are, right? So much. Not just evaluating me there, but what do I bring to the table and how can I help in the mission?
If I need a blood transfusion and they bring that pint of blood,
right?
I'm not asking who's it coming. Black person, white person, gay, straight, whatever.
I truly am not. So I think that that's just one thing for people that may be wondering and thinking is just your interaction with people and evaluating them for who they are, not from what you heard, not from the stereotypes, not from what you've seen on movies and TV, but this is real life. And for the most part, and again, one of my white homies, country boy, I'm gonna have him on the show, but he won't mind. Todd, we come from two separate walks of life. Straight up Republican country boy. Me over here, military black man, quote unquote, Democrat. I don't try to affiliate directly with any party lines like that. But when we came together and got close as friends and just evaluating each other as just first as man, that dude loves his wife. He loves his son. He stresses about, having a great relationship with his wife. Troubles with his son sometime. Wanting to have something to pass down to his son. I'm sitting there, same thing I want. I want to have a great relationship with my wife. I'm thinking about at that time when it was just Trey, and now I got Jason. I want to establish something for them to have. And once you look at each other from that level position, we all pretty much want the same thing. And as black folks, what we've been calling for, crying for, dying for, is that we just want to be on a level position with you. We want the same thing that you want. We want the same education. We want the same ability to find good jobs. We want the same ability to get loans. We want the same ability to get good housing. This is what we want, the same ability to go in our neighborhood and to even be able to get quality goods and services and quality food. We don't want our people living in food deserts and stuff like that. We don't want every place, where you can't find a good grocery store, but you can find a good liquor store. You can find that corner store with Hostess cakes and stuff like that in it.
Not to mention when you're in a grocery store that you're being followed from aisle to aisle.
Okay, I'm about to go on a whole nother tangent.
I'm not really following. I'm just looking for the same thing you're looking for. on the seventh aisle.
So anyway, my man, I had a good conversation with one of my brothers, man. I've known this dude since I was in elementary school. He's a hooper. He's an educator. He's an author. And he has, I don't know if you consider this a blog or what, but anyway, it's called According to Void. If y'all look that up, According to Void. And he has a dope article in here talking about everything from, George Floyd to Ahmaud Arbery. And the title of this particular article is called The New Normal. But that's a dope read. I wanted to also shout out, I seen this book online by way of my boy TJ. And it's my friend Mia. It's her husband, and his name is Gerald Lee, and he has a book called Finding Purpose. And I just got this. I saw this, and I said, man, I hit wifey. I said, yo, order that for me. Chick never even responded, but then she hands me a package today, like, hey, here's something for you. And I look, and it was, it was like a cooler present. So I'm gonna dig into this, man. But shout out to Gerald Lee, just talking about his basically his transition from the street life, and finding his purpose and kind of turning his whole life around, man. So I just want to shout out. Y'all could pick that up off of Amazon as well.